Giraffes' most distinguishing characteristic is obviously their height. Giraffes are gigantic. If they inhabited your neighborhood, they could easily look into the second story. Male giraffes can grow up to 19 feet and can weigh up to 4,255 pounds. Their necks alone are 6 feet, although they only have the same number of vertebrae in them as we do in ours. Each vertebrae must be almost a foot long. Their legs are the same height, 6 feet. The tail, 8 feet. And a giraffe's heart is 2 feet long. The tongue is 18 to 20 inches long. Lions are the greatest danger, but giraffes' extreme height makes the adults excellent lookouts and enables them to warn all animals in the vicinity. And their hooves, 12 inches across, the size of a dinner plate. These are powerful weapons that they use in a karate-style kick to fend off their enemies. Female giraffes are shorter, 16 feet at the most. When a giraffe is born, it is 6 feet. The mother stands while giving birth like the deer seen around here on our campus. But a baby giraffe has to fall 5 feet. It must not be too traumatic though. It gets up and walks an hour or two later. Another distinguishing characteristic is the giraffe's horns. Called ossicones, they are covered with fur, and the female has longer tufts of hair protruding from the tops than the male. Is this to help the adult male not confuse the female with the younger male? The irregular shaped spots on each giraffe are different from each other giraffe. Thus, their spots can be a means of identification, as are the stripes of a zebra, and like our own fingerprints. Adult giraffes eat 47 to 75 pounds of food in a day, mostly acacia leaves in the rainy season, and evergreen when the acacia dries up in the dry season. Males eat from the top of the trees, and females from the lower branches, even though they have to bend their necks down to do so. Like cows, giraffes chew their food more than once. I remember as a child watching my uncle's cows just sitting or standing, chewing away, chewing their cuds. Drinking is a difficult matter for giraffes. They have to spread their front legs to reach down far enough to drink from a river or lake. Very awkward indeed, but more seriously, very vulnerable to their enemies, lions, hyenas, and wild dogs that might come to the same drinking spot. The scientific name for a giraffe is Giraffe camelopardalis, which means camel leopard. I suppose because, like a leopard, the giraffe has spots, although quite different from the leopard spots. And like camels, they drink huge quantities of water and can withstand long periods in dry, arid regions. At one time, it was thought that the giraffe stores water in the hump on its back at the bottom of its neck. But in fact, this hump holds the muscles, etc., needed to hold up and move, yet balance the long neck. A structural mechanism, something like a crane used in tall building construction. Unlike most mammals, when walking, giraffes move the 2 legs on one side, then the 2 legs on the other side. When running, they move the front feet together, then the back feet. Their huge, tall necks could cause them to topple like cranes do in strong winds. To balance the neck, they have to move it backward and forward while running. Giraffes might be the strangest sleepers on our planet. Baby giraffes sleep lying down with their legs tucked beneath their bodies and the heads resting on their rumps. Occasionally, adults sleep this way, or standing with their necks wound around to rest their heads on their hindquarters. But usually, they sleep standing head up. The astonishing fact is that they hardly ever sleep more than 5 minutes at a time. They sleep off and on for a total of 4.5 hours a day. The reason for such strange behavior is that their huge bodies lying down asleep would be a great target for predators. And with their long legs, it takes quite a while for them to rise from the ground. A group of giraffes are not a herd, they are a tower. To me, one giraffe resembles a tower, but a group would look like a cluster of towers. Giraffes are matriarchal. Female giraffes build lasting relationships with each other and their offspring. They help raise each other's calves and mourn together when one dies. Grandmothers are included in these duties. Male giraffes seem more aloof. They continue their relationship with their mothers, but don't seem to bond with any other giraffe. They compete with one another for dominance in mating. They spar with one another with their horns and swing their necks at one another, which is called necking, a far cry from the way we use the term. This can be so violent, it can be deadly. There is another creature that is closely connected to the giraffe, the bird called oxpecker. In fact, in Julie Gunlick's photo that I used for my inspiration in creating the wall quilt, there are 5 to 7 birds on the side of the giraffe in view. There's controversy among scientists who study giraffes about whether these birds are more helpful than harmful. They comb the fur with their beaks, eating any lice or ticks. So you would think it would be a symbiotic relationship. The giraffe gets relief from the insects, and the birds have all the food they need. But the birds stay with the giraffe almost interminably, sleeping under the giraffe's legs at night. Wouldn't that be annoying? It's when the giraffe is injured by a predator that the birds really become problematic. They have an appetite for blood. I did not stay within the limits of Julie's photograph when I made the wall quilt. I chose to have a few birds flying in the air rather than sitting on the giraffe in the quilt. The oxpeckers are gray and white and do not show up well against the strong texture of the giraffe spots. I chose to have them more colorful and flying in the air near the animal's head. These were birds printed on a fabric that I cut out and appliqued to the sky. I added the flowers to the back of the giraffe to express joy and the connection of all creation. I added the acacia tree to balance the composition better, and the bushes in the foreground to give more depth. I added the pink lilies on the ground to to repeat the pink in the distant boulders and trees. In fact, the huge rocks had no pink in them. I thought they needed more color. After I had these distant objects applique in place, I wasn't sure I liked them. So I posted a photo of the quilt on Facebook with an art quilt group and asked the other quilters their opinion. I got lots of suggestions. The status of the giraffe in the endangered species list is of concern. They are listed as vulnerable, but in some countries of Africa, they are endangered. Habitat loss, poaching, and disease have all decimated the numbers. I remember years ago going to the St. Louis Zoo when one of my nieces came for a visit with her family. Rachel, who was 2 or 3 years old, was far more interested in the cracks in the sidewalk than in any of the animals. She kept playing her little game of not stepping on the cracks, not pausing once to look up, until we came to the giraffes. Then she gave this gigantic creature her whole attention. She grabbed onto the chain link fence and gazed at the lone animal in front of her without saying a word for a long time, till we finally moved on. I think she sensed the spirit of the giraffe. Despite any shadow side, this animal is known for the gentleness and gracefulness. The giraffe as an animal totem is thought of as clairvoyant, peaceful, standing tall, a link between heaven and earth. I believe God is present in each creature and that each is an image of God. All share in God's beauty. For a person of faith, this is obvious in the beauty of this fantastic creature. But it goes much further than exterior beauty. The symbiotic relationship, the birds being fed and the giraffes relieved of their pests, is certainly a charitable exchange, a kind of love. And is the blood shed that the oxpeckers partake in a sharing in Christ's suffering? Is suffering an essential part of all life? Is it necessary for growth and wholeness?